Welcome back. This is Marc Rudov, branding advisor to CEOs. And if there ever was a branding story, this one is it. 4 days ago, Zohran Mamdani, a rapper with no resume at all, except he's a rich kid.
He's been in the New York Assembly for 4 years. And before that, he was an aspiring rapper under the name Mr. Cardamom. Listen.
He won the Democrat primary in New York City to be the next mayor. And if somebody doesn't defeat him in November, he will be the next mayor. He hates Jews. He hates whites. He hates America. He hates capitalists. He hates everything that's traditional. He wants to have government stores. He wants to arrest Bibi Netanyahu because he believes in international law, not American law. This guy won. I don't think I can top Larry Kudlow in synopsizing this guy's background.
More research to do on this radical socialist Zohran Mamdani, the worse the story gets. You'd think defunding the police and jacking up taxes and doubling the New York City budget is bad enough. But reading his campaign website shows that it gets worse, way worse. Let's start with this. He wants to raise taxes on, quote, richer and whiter neighborhoods in New York City. Richer and whiter. Okay. Taxing the rich, that's a socialist staple. No surprise there. But taxing based on the color of your skin? Now that is a new low for our little radical friend. It's also racist. It's also against the law. Justice Department Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, has been following this story. Here's what she said, and I quote, "Racial discrimination is illegal in the United States, period, full stop. The illegal discriminatory scheme described by Mamdani would violate federal, constitutional, and statutory norms and might even violate New York law," end quote. So Mamdani might even get busted for racial discrimination if he were ever elected. A couple of years ago, in a state assembly speech, he added, let me quote, "We must dismantle systems of white privilege embedded in our housing and economic policies to achieve true equity," end quote. So, you know, what you got here is DEI on steroids. And at a time when the whole Biden woke diversity, equity, and inclusion crusade has been rejected by virtually the whole country, it's really an 80-20 issue now. Now, our little Mamdani is trying to resurrect it here in the Big Apple. And as I've said often, the DEI craze was the progenitor of anti-Semitism. And anti-Semitism appears to be Mamdani's middle name. After the October 7th, 2023 Hamas massacre of 1,200 people in Israel, our radical socialist friend Mamdani blamed Israel for the attack. Sounds like a shocker. Well, yeah. But that's what all the kids and troublemakers were saying at the riots at Columbia, NYU, and all across the country. Meanwhile, Mamdani's father is a far-left professor at Columbia, specializing in, get this, the study of colonialism, anti-colonialism, and decolonization. Woo, sure sounds like hatred of Israel runs in the family. And speaking of the family, Zohran's mother, filmmaker Mira Nair, in an interview with the Hindustan Times back in 2013 said, and I'll quote again, "He's not an American at all. He was born in Uganda, raised between India and America. He thinks of himself as a Ugandan and as an Indian," end quote. That's unbelievable. Now, I hate to make snap judgments, but I've always believed that people who hate Jews and the state of Israel are also, in the main, people who hate America. Mamdani, on the other hand, constantly talks about globalizing the Intifada. That's a little word salad that usually means I hate Israel. It all sounds like if he were ever elected, he would use his position as mayor of New York City to target Israel and Jewish people, and I guess white privilege, and there's probably no end to his racism. Now, am I being too hard on him here? Well, look, he hadn't denied any of this. He hasn't walked it back. He surely hasn't apologized. If I'm not mistaken, New York City has the largest Jewish population in the world outside of Israel. Are they seriously going to vote for a guy who is basically one big walking hate crime? You know, if I take a historical perspective, as bad as Mamdani's policies are to defund the police, proliferate a free lunch for everyone, and jack up everybody's taxes, frankly, the anti-Semitism and the hatred for the state of Israel is a far more despicable sin. And that's the riff.
Okay, so now you know a little bit about him. The issue for me is not who he is, but why he won. That's today's topic. Why Zohran Mamdani won. He won because of the voters. Now, his opponent was Andrew Cuomo, who was an awful candidate. He's responsible for killing a lot of people during COVID by putting COVID-infected patients from hospitals in nursing homes. Killed thousands. Never got prosecuted for it. He was also accused of harassing women. But bottom line is he was a terrible candidate. But I don't think that's why Mamdani won. Mamdani won because of who the voters are. And the voters saw him as their professors because a lot of these voters went to the poison Ivy League schools. I have a whole page dedicated to the poison Ivy League. They hear professors, radical professors, just like Mamdani, railing against America, railing against wealth and capitalism, railing against everything that's traditional in America. They pick that up, and that's inside of them. And along comes a candidate just like them, not accomplished, Ivy League degree, poison Ivy League degree, and angry at the world because they're all victims. And people who have accomplished something are oppressors. They relate to that. Peter Orszag was Obama's OMB director from 2009 to 2010. He's a Democrat, and he said that Democrats increasingly hate Jews and capitalism. After this election, that's what he said. And he's a Democrat because it's true. Where does this originate? Let's explore the birth of Marxism. And here it is. It's very simple. If you have a leftist mother, the father is irrelevant because any man who marries a leftist woman is either a leftist himself, as is in the case of Zohran Mamdani's father, a leftist professor at Columbia, or he's a total wimp and just does whatever mommy says. That's where it begins. If you look at all the rioters on campus, the ones who actually are American citizens and who are tuition-paying students at these universities and who are rioting and tearing the places down and calling for global intifada, as Mamdani does. He wants to globalize the intifada, which means he hates Jews, he hates Israel. If you look at all these kids, I guarantee you their mothers are leftists and their fathers are wimps. The result of this is that people with money and businesses want to leave New York, and they are already planning to do it. My X page is full of articles about people who say they're going to leave or are leaving now. Think about it. This guy has no resume. And he wants to run the largest city in the United States, the one with the largest Jewish population, the nerve center of the world's financial system. and he has no experience. Yet, look at this crowd of people, out of their minds with excitement when they heard that Mamdani had won. When you saw these people, did you see any electricians or plumbers or carpenters? No, you didn't. Looks like they all just walked off the Columbia University campus. I'm telling you, the left-wingers are the ones who are voting for the destruction of America. There are a lot of them in this country, and that is why Zohran Mamdani won. This is Marc Rudov at marcrudov.com. Until next time.